it's kind of a slow dopamine kind of thing that when you work on something for such a long time and you finally sit down and say, okay, we're finished. And you can look back at it and say like, wow, this has been like it's such a wonderful process.
Hi, I'm Remco.
Hi, I'm Dennis.
We're from the Aurora Project and you're watching LiveProg.
I finally found the place to rest my weary eyes.
So, welcome to another LiveProg podcast where you meet musicians from all over the world, and this time we are going to Norway and to meet with Emil from Sykofant. Good evening, Emil.
Hello, thank you for having me, man.
How are you doing?
How are you? I'm fine. How are you?
A bit warm.
A bit warm.
It's at the end of April and it feels like summer.
Yeah. So it's hot. You're in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
It's hot there as well. Norway is hot too. Too hot.
Okay.
We just went from winter and straight to summer. It feels like there was no in between.
No. It's strange all over the place, but it's a pleasure to meet with you, have a chat with you, because I've been listening to your music for quite a while, and it's been, I think, about a year ago that you guys reached out to me. Yep. That was when you had the debut album out.
Correct.
But at that time, I was just starting up, rebooting LiveProg, so things didn't work out, but now they did, I'm really happy to do that. And like I said, it's been about a year ago that you released the debut album, and very recently, you also released an EP called Red Sun.
Correct.
So that's almost within a year. So that's quite fast. How come you guys got new music out so fast?
Well, truth to be told, we started writing this EP like probably a year or so before we finished the album. So we always strive to have some have at least like a lot of sketches finished when we record something. So when we finished our album, I think the album actually was ready for quite some time as well, like before we released it to the public. But we spent that time writing this Red Sun EP, and that's why we got it ready. So we always strive to like be one step ahead, if you will, like writing wise. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I figured, you do just the one thing and then you move on, but you guys are very active in writing then, I guess.
Yeah, you kind of have to be, I guess, with all the algorithms and how Spotify works. And I see like modern electronic artists, they often release like one song a week. It's crazy. You can't do that as a band, of course. At least we can't. There's probably some band out there that is super effective and can manage that, but we need a lot of time writing. So like one release a year, I think it's pretty much our like top speed that we can manage at the moment and still be happy with the output.
Okay, yeah, it's got to be important that you're happy, of course. It's an interesting thing that you mentioned the technology, because that is these days it's different than before. Back then bands would release an album and would work on the next one, but these days it's a lot through social media, and you use that as well. I understand.
We try our best, man. It's I have to be honest, we kind of struggle with the whole TikTok shorts, YouTube shorts kind of format. We feel quite old on that platform, and we really just want to we want to play music live, we want to write the music, and this whole making videos kind of thing feels a bit it feels a bit weird to us, to be honest, but we try in our own way to add some to put some things out there, like some live clips or clips from rehearsals and stuff like that. But I think if the younger generations are seeing it, they're probably like, oh my god, this is some boomer shit they're doing. But that's fine with me. We are millennials and kind of proud of it, I guess.
But despite the fact that, we have these modern social media things like Spotify and TikTok and whatever, your debut album was released on vinyl.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very old school.
Yeah, it's something about like the vinyl format being like big, and we had the, Morena, she spent, countless hours drawing and making the artwork and one art piece for each song. So it was really, we felt like the only right way to put this out there was like have a big booklet, like 16 pages, and like the vinyl format is just perfect for kind of conceptual prog, I guess, because you can listen to the music, you can look at the artwork on like in a pretty big format, and yeah, it's just perfect for that. And it sounds good as well. The warmth and the crackling and the whole ritual of putting the album on. It's yeah, we're kind of old school that way, I guess. And I think that our music sounds best on vinyl. It's really got a lot of 70s influences, so putting on that, getting that warm, dynamic sound, it fits the music.
I agree with that, and the experience of putting on an album is yeah. I always find that you are a little bit more involved in the music when you play a record, even compared to CD. I mean, CD you also have some things you do, but it's just you play and then you can just sit down. But with an album, in between you have to flip it over, and and what you say, the artwork is definitely a big plus for vinyl. Let's go to the EP. I mean, I've been listening to it, and I gotta say, I love it. It's really beautiful. At the same time, I find that it is music that does need I'm getting out of my words. It does need a few listening. How do you say that? I would say spins, but with an album.
A few spins.
Yeah, to reveal all its secrets, all its beauty. There was one song on it that really stood out for me. I'm curious if you can guess which one.
Oh, I would have to say like Embers, the last song. That's to me at least, that's the song I find the most interesting from, like, I feel that's where we are like at the most Sykofant type like doing our thing, but I don't know if that's the correct answer.
Well, it was actually the second track, the middle track, the title track, Red Sun. I was
Pink
listening
Floyd
to that
tribute.
Yeah, I was like, wow. I mean, my mind went like Dark Side of the Moon immediately.
Watch the sky for signs of life, another chance. Red sun smear across the sky. Please tell me it's another lie.
And it's very close. So I was very curious. Like, I mean, you mentioned you had the 70s influence, but how does that fit in?
Well, we kind of steal shit from Pink Floyd all the time, to be honest. And in the first album, there's a lot of small stuff that are ideas that are heavily inspired by Floyd. And I remember coming up with the main strumming part for Red Sun, and it was kind of Floydian, but well, of course, all of these call it like classic rock blues kind of calm psychedelic things. You could take it in 1,000 different directions, but this time we started jamming on it and started trying stuff out, and we ended up like it being really Floydian, and we went like, why not just make this almost an homage to Pink Floyd, because it suits the song so well to do it that way. So we were like, we could do it like we've experimented with doing it other ways, but it doesn't feel quite right. The song's kind of it calls for a Gilmorian Floydian treatment, if you will. So we just said, fuck it. We knew that some people would like some people would criticize us for it, and some people would really love it, but we just kind of needed to do what was right for the song, I guess. Yeah.
How is it as a guitar player to play these Gilmore-like parts?
I have to be honest, it feels really good. We can't, we are not able to like copy the whole, the true Gilmorian feel. It's in his fingers, man. So that's impossible. But I think we at times come pretty close, and it's a really fun way to play music, I guess, because it's just it's feely, and there's some like blue notes in there, and no, I have to be honest, I just completely love it. Yeah.
I can imagine that. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful music. I'm currently rediscovering a lot of Floyd. I recently finally got a copy of Delicate Sound of Thunder, so I'm very happy with that one. So yeah, I definitely love that. But you know, that ties in with the 70s vibe, and that is something I also picked up on the debut album. And there was one song that kind of stood out for me, like In Between the Moments, the really great, fantastic vintage sound in that one. And I was kind of curious, like, how do you create such a sound?
Well, the sound on the debut album is that's a lot. Well, it's basically, we use the computer to like capture the tapes, but there's just minimal set of plugins used. It's mostly like analog compressors and good old German microphones and amps, and it's like Forgotten Paths has a real Mellotron on it. Like with Ole Øvstedal, the producer on that album, we used all his gear to the full extent because he owns a lot of tasty stuff, you know. So we're just bring it on. We need all the golden 70s vibes we can get, you know. So I think most of the sounds come from it being, there's a part of it being the production, and there's also a part of it being how we tracked it, because it's not dubbed like with like 8 guitars. It's mostly like 2 tracks with different microphones that you hear. So it's like a live band basically. And we did like a minimal overdubs. The backing vocals are sung by like Per and Sindre and the people who actually sing backing vocals, and it's done in a pretty organic way is what I'm getting at basically. So I think that contributes a lot to the retro sound, at least like in with how like today's music scene is, with backing tracks being used live and everyone playing on click tracks and etc.
Yeah, okay, so that's how you got it. I was curious, but I gotta say, when I hear this, it sounds like a lot of fun in the studio when you guys were recording the album.
Oh, we love it. We actually have had a lot of discussions on whether we should use a click track live, because it's in some way it's easier to have this like common pulse that everyone follows, but we just can't seem to enjoy it. We love the time feel, like going like this, and depending on how the drummer feels and how I'm feeling, and it's such a, you know, dynamic, organic thing, and all of us just really we love the feel of that. It doesn't get as flawless as some of the like modern bands get, but I guess that's not what we're going for. We want the kind of call it 70s if you will, but to me it's more like a bare bones band kind of experience with people like playing to their heart's content, and yeah, maybe there's a fuck up or two, but that's just all a part of the charm, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I really find this 70s theme running all through the veins of Sykofant. So, but you know, you guys started out as a I found it an interesting way to say it, a creative playground, a lot of jamming. So how do you go from jamming to your debut album?
Well, I'm going to use the word organic once again. No, it was like me and Per, the other guitar player. previously we played metal throughout our whole childhood and adolescence, and we found that really fun, and up until like in our 20s, like late 20s somewhere, and we kind of just found it a bit boring and stale, and we found ourselves like running in the same cycles over and over, songwriting wise. So there there was that part, and me and Pierre just had we found ourselves like living in the same city, the both of us, and both of us had some personal stuff going on and just needed an outlet, I guess. So we just met over a couple of beers and got, the typical like, hey, let's just jam, let's just meet one day and jam. And that's basically the seed that became Sykofant. And the jams just became just more and more expansive. We wrote more and more stuff, and a jam went from, okay, we're just jamming, to, okay, let's just write a song. And that went to, okay, I mean, perhaps it's an EP. And then the EP became like an album. And before you know it, you have this, like, we found Melvin and we found Sindre on bass. And we were just like, we're a band, I guess. And this is what we do now. We are like a defined unit of musicians.
As the noise of the march slowly settles down, fades through the desert like sand in a jar.
Yeah, so you didn't set out like, we're going to form a band, we're going to write an album. It was more like, we're going to play, and yeah, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, kind of. And we enjoyed what happened. So that's our motivation for continuing to do it, I guess.
Yeah, okay, nice. and that is something I looked up to the meaning of the word sycophant. I was curious what it means. How did you come up with that name?
Oh, I'm always terrible at remembering this backstory, but we had like we went through this whole phase of trying to find like the perfect band name, and that's everyone who's played in a band know that's impossible, finding the perfect band name. So we actually called ourselves the Flight of the Green Fox for a while, which is just we were not happy with it at all, but we were like, yeah, well, it's the best we got. It's kind of weird and doesn't mean anything, but it's kind of long. And then Sindre, he was reading a book in Norwegian, I think, and it was like, I found this word, guys, like Sykofant. I think it's kind of catchy, kind of cool. Should we perhaps use it as a band name? And the rest of us were like, yeah, that's a cool name. Yeah, it's catchy, but it doesn't. Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any deeper meaning other than it's a cool name. It works both in English and in Norwegian, and yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely catchy. So okay, yeah. I mean, it's always a creative process, of course, not just writing music, but also coming up with names, with song titles and with everything. Do you guys find it difficult to come up with song titles?
We have some internal discussions about it. I write everything we have done up until this point, and the next release as well, coming later this year, are conceptual, and it's the same concept, or the same, like, kind of, call it fairy tale, modern Norwegian fairy tale kind of universe kind of thing. So I write the concept, and then I write the lyrics, and so I kind of put forth suggestions for most of it, but then we have some discussions on, we have some internal preferences in the band, in where Sindre, our bass player, he really loves like the short and to the point, like Strangers, for example, like he wants it to be one word. I'm kind of more, I can really love the, like, Nile, the death metal band.
I'm not familiar with them.
No, they have like crazy song titles. Like, it's like, A paragraph basically is a song title.
Okay.
I'm not there, but I could enjoy like a bit longer song titles. But so we always have some discussions regarding both the lyrics and the concept and song titles. And well, Sindre often wins, so it's often more shorter song titles that wins. And I kind of agree up to a point that it's catchier and easier to remember.
I think all bass players should listen to this and know that your bass player sometimes wins something, you know? It's good for bass players.
We got to give him something, you know? That's
okay.
Yeah.
The concept of the album you mentioned, it's conceptual. You said that the EP was already, you know, also written before, you know, or at least around the time of the album. So are the stories linked on these two releases?
Yeah, absolutely. And on our upcoming release. So the first album, it's I'm always cautious to like say too much in interviews about the concept, because I think that I have written it most of the lyrics are written in a somewhat abstract psychedelic way, because I want the listener to make up their own story basically. But I write out quite detailed stories, like novella style, for the whole concept. And the first album is like, how should I put it? It's sort of a search for meaning, I guess. So like existential themes. And we explore meaning in different contexts, which are pretty on the nose, because we have like a desert theme, an ocean themed song, a forest themed song, but we kind of explore the same concepts within those different contexts, if that makes sense. So the Red Sun EP is actually an embroiderment of the song Strangers on the first album. So when we worked on Red Sun, we actually just called it a desert EP, because it's like Strangers is our desert theme song. That's why we have the surf rock and the cowboy kind of guitar parts. And we have quite a big leap in the story at that point. So we wanted to embellish that a bit. And then that's how the Red Sun EP came to be. And with like the next EP as well, which will release sometime autumn, I guess, this year. We're actually heading into the studio now in a couple of weeks. Just finished writing it, yeah. That will like look at the forest part, which is not to talk. I could talk about it because I spent so much time writing the story, so I could talk about this for hours. But to keep it short, it's pretty much two sides of the same coin, because the protagonist struggles with the same thing in both like desert and the forest, and they're supposed to like represent two sides of like one is an exploration of like being in a community in a, call it, barren environment, while the other one is being alone in a rich ecological environment, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
It always becomes a bit difficult to explain like the concept, because I think most of it just exists in my head. Yeah.
Forgotten paths, the years that passed have colored me.
And then you have to translate it to a song, and then I mean, when you I don't know if the EPs have a physical release or just a digital one.
It will have a physical release. So Red Sun is just digital for now. But when the next EP comes out later this year, we will make it. We basically want to make a record, but to make it easier on ourselves, because this time I'm producing and mixing it as well, like the Red Sun and the next EP. So to just break it a bit up into bits, we just like, okay, let's do the A side first, and then the B-side later, because it's easier to manage when you got like the whole life, work, and family, and all that stuff. In addition to doing this musical project.
Yeah, of course. Now, what I noticed on the at least the promo version that I think you sent me is that you have the 3 songs from the EP, but there's also this continuous mix where you have all the 3 songs.
Yeah.
In a mix. Is that going to be released in some form as well, or was that just for the promotion?
Well, it's kind of a bit the other way. I know it doesn't seem like it, but to me, the whole EP is one song. As it's the same with the album. It's one piece of music. It's written as a guitar symphony, kind of. So if you listen to the debut album, there's not 0 dB on any point in the album, because we've written it as one song with 6 chapters. Okay. But and the same for the EP. Like it's one song, but to be nice to the listener, we've chosen to like divide up the chapters, because of course they are in some way separate songs with their own themes, but to me they're just one story and they all flow into each other. And the next EP will be like that as well. So it will be like 3 songs as well, but this time we will have, I think, one song is just 2-3 minutes and one song is the same, and then we have a song that's, I think it's like 17, 18 minutes long on the next EP. So, but to me they're all just one 22-minute long song. So the continuous mix is kind of my vision, but then we had some internal discussions and we landed on that, okay, we should split it a bit up because it's easier to
What was that, Sindre again? Who?
Oh, I actually don't remember. Okay. I think it was, but we had some. I think we were pretty much in agreement, but we were kind of rocking a bit back and forth. Like, do we release this as like 1 55-minute song, or because I know that challenges the listener. Because if you just like one part, and you have to like go and skip around to listen to it again. But yeah, that's one of the good things with the digital age, is that when you put an album, it's almost seamless, like the transitions. You don't have to flip the vinyl, and you don't get that break.
Yeah, that's true. There are some benefits and good sides to digital, but
there are few. But
yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned that with this EP and the next one, you're doing a lot more on the production side. So if you look back to the debut album and you look to the EP, in what ways are you doing things differently now than before?
As I mentioned earlier, the debut album was pretty bare bones. It's a lot of stuff that is recorded live. There's minimal overdubs. There's a lot of analog equipment, and this time around we decided that we wanted to do a more, how should I say it, like not modern, but like an layered production. So there's more overdubs. Actually, we have like both me and Per tracks both our guitars with. We actually use the Les Paul in addition to our Fender Stratocasters, and I use a Schecter Nick Johnson signature single coil as well. So you get both like the humbucker sound and the single coil sound. And we actually got some friends of mine that sings in a choir to come in and sing some bits for us, and we experimented with some ambient synth stuff, and we just wanted to take it a bit further and make the production slightly more polished, because it's I guess it's mostly to do with just wanting another challenge, because okay, we tried this, let's try that. And it's each recording session is sort of an opportunity for me to learn something new. So If I want to, okay, I want to somewhat direct the choir and make this stuff happen, I'll do that. So it's
Okay.
that's an experimental playground as well. Yeah.
I think those things can produce the best results because then you are not focused on the result, but more on the process. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we love the process. Like it's of course tiresome at some points when you've been in the studio and you listen to the same songs for weeks and months on ends, and you worked with on the material for like a year before that. But it's kind of a slow dopamine kind of thing that when you work on something for such a long time and you finally sit down and say, okay, we're finished. And you can look back at it and say like, wow, this has been like it's such a wonderful process. Like I loved writing it, I loved jamming on it, I loved like producing it and mixing it. And yeah, it was hard work at some point, and I was kind of sick with it at some other
Yeah.
points. But then still you look back at it and you tend to remember like the good stuff, right? Like the things you learned and how fun the different parts of it was. So yeah, I love that. It's the project where you work for a long time and then you, yeah, I love those kind of projects.
Yeah. Yeah. I can totally imagine that. And of course, I as a listener love to listen
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the result.
that's wonderful. And that's the nice thing about the internet, is that we can share it with the whole world. So everyone
Yeah.
that's interested
Yeah.
can have a listen.
You mentioned a little bit already about the artwork. Sykofant, that's something I also picked up, is about storytelling. You said that you want to have the listener to kind of make up the story of their own, but is there a kind of a story you'd like to convey to the listener?
Yeah, but well, the story is, as I said, there is one like official story, but I'm not too keen on putting that too explicitly out there, because most of the story and themes that I like to write about are kind of existential in nature. So I feel like if someone sits down and reads the lyrics, there are of course pretty abstract, and I think I at least try to write lyrics so that people can like project their own stories into it and make sense of it themselves. And I hope that what they see is like themes of like the feeling of belonging, the having to make sense of your own life and where to steer it, what to do with it, how in control of it are you, loss and general like grievance and sorrow processes, death for that matter. So it's these kind of themes that I like to wrap in this kind of fairy tale package and make so abstract that, as I said, I hope people can read them and listen to them and be like, oh, this resonates with me, but I can't quite understand why, because it's, yeah. So I'm not too interested in people like just, okay, this is about a man who does this and that and this and A to B to C to,
Yeah.
I'm more interested in people listening to it and just having let's just call it like philosophical thoughts to themselves, just thinking about, oh, this kind of reminded me of this and that, and oh yeah, that's the whole deal. I want the
Yeah.
people that listens to be the protagonist. Make your own story, make your own thoughts about it, and because that's what's important to you, I guess. Yeah.
And when you look at the artwork, you mentioned there's a lot of time and effort being put into the artwork. When you have a concept like that, and you have an artist, how do you work with the artist to get the artwork you like or fits the music?
So I love to. I think of. I think we are a bit different from a lot of other bands when it comes to that, because it's often that artists go to like a visual artist and say like, we want this, make this for us. But both of our collaborations, both with Morena and Lars, who made the latest, Lars Kvernberg, who made the latest artwork, has been like, okay, here is a write-up of the story, here are the lyrics, this is the music, and you do you. And it's quite funny because Lars actually sent us I actually he asked me once like, what do you want for like the Red Sun EPs, like the single artwork? I'm not sure where to take this. And I wrote up this whole kind of section, and he was like, no, that's I don't think that. I'm just going to do something else. And I'm like, that's fantastic, because
Yeah.
I am not a visual artist, because if I were, then I would do the artwork myself. So I kind of trust we find artists that I trust can make good decisions and make something that like make a piece that resonates with them based on the music. So they're given a lot of freedom, and of course we have talks about like what are the important symbols that we use, and they get access to like a lot of the backstage stuff, like the story and stuff as well. But in the end, it's up to them and how they want, what they feel is right, and the results are at least up until this point have been like, it's amazing. I love both like the debut album artwork, and I really enjoy Lars' artwork as well, and he will be making artwork for the next EP as well, like the whole album release. And it's beautiful, fairy tale-y, 70s retro kind of cool vibes.
Yeah, it's nice that you have such a good relationship with the artist, that you can, you know, trust them to deliver something that is going to work. And what I also found, yeah, I would almost say impressive, is that you're not just doing the cover album, the cover art, but you also do art for the various songs.
Yeah. It's on the Red Sun EP. There's I have to be honest. The debut album has been a somewhat costly endeavor for us when you're printing like this gate. We're an independent band, you know, so we have to run this as like a really, really small business. And when you have to print up like several hundred copies of like a double gatefold with like a 16-page booklet, and that stuff is expensive. So we decided for like the next one that we'll do like the cover art and just like a single vinyl sleeve with just like one inlet with 2 pages, like one front and one back, with like one artwork for each of the single songs. So we have like one for Red Sun, and we'll have one for the main song of the next EP release as well.
Okay, so the combined EPs will also be released on vinyl. You're sticking with that.
Absolutely, yeah. Vinyl is it's our number one priority. It's the way music should be released, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's very nice. When you released the debut album, you also did a release show where you got to perform the songs live for the first time. And what I hear from how things went in the studio, and then translating that to the stage, was that a challenge?
The first album was it's always a challenge, because when you come from like playing metal like me and Per did, is like you have a lot of gain and noise to hide a bit behind, so you're not so stressed with making mistakes, you know. But suddenly you're standing there and you have this like clean, like really stripped down clean section with me and Per both singing in harmony, and then go straight into a solo and you have to do something else, and it's quite a bit more going on. So it was a lot of work, but I think it went well, and the shows we've been having up until now has been really, really quite fun.
And any favorite songs that you particularly like to play? Or maybe songs that you prefer not to play because they're a bit challenging. It's also possible.
Yeah, well, that's so like Forgotten Paths. It's a cool song on the record, but it's more of a difficult song to play live because when you have like 2 minutes of vocals and then you have like 12 minutes of instrumental jamming, you kind of, a lot of people that are not that heavily into prog get lost on the way, you know? So I tend to enjoy, like Monuments of Old, song number 3, where it's just like, it's pretty much really rock and roll all the way through, and that's at least where you get the most like fun response from the people watching, and yeah. But it depends on the audience, I guess, because if you're playing to like a really hardcore prog crowd, then the 10 minutes of jamming and instrumental sections can be pretty cool as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You've played a few shows in Norway so far. Any plans or hopes to play also outside of Norway?
There are. I have to. There are plans. We're playing in Denmark this summer. That's official. There are also some other plans that I can't talk about, but which is like, I guess I could say other places in Europe, like outside of Scandinavia, that will play. And we're of course open to offers. If anyone out there wants us to play somewhere and is willing to pay the travel fees, we're there, man. We love to play, but we're kind of strict about not losing money on the whole thing because there's it's tough competition. This whole line of work.
Small creatures gather round the wide-eyed stranger lost in all the streets.
That's true. There are a lot of bands, and they all want to play live.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the situation in Norway is. I know that here in the Netherlands, the attendance at shows is not that great. I know this in prog communities, they really do urge people that if you want to go to a show, buy your tickets in advance. So, you know, the venue knows that they have sold a certain amount of tickets, so they know that the show can continue.
Yeah.
The days of like, hey, there's a show going on tonight, I'm gonna go. It's kind of over. I'm really sad about that. But at the same time, it's kind of sad when you are in a venue and you have an amazing band on stage and there are like 50 or 100 people there. It's So I can understand.
It's the reality of stuff, I guess. So I try not to spend too much time thinking about that because it's like, times are evolving and you'll just have to adapt, I guess. But of course, I agree with the sentiment that I would like to see live music, and especially experimental live music, like long songs. And I would like to see that stuff make a major comeback as well. But it's currently that's not the situation in Norway as well. It's people are attending concerts, but it has become more of a somewhat of a niche interest, like attending at least prog rock concerts. It's the same with like jazz or blues, or it's the music crowd that goes to that stuff, and the popular music is more easily digested, I would say.
That is a fact, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, something that is also very popular and gets full venues are tribute bands.
Yeah.
So, you know, original bands should just add the word tribute behind their name, and you're golden, you know.
That's our next advertising move is like Sykofant, a Pink Floyd tribute band. Pink Floyd homage band, we have to say.
I think that would be a better one, homage band. That kind of, and then you can play your own songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Can play Red Sun 3 times in a row, and people would be happy.
people will be like, "Hey, this is Pink Floyd, but it's not Pink Floyd," and they're confused. And that will be fun. That will be a show I would love to go and see.
Yeah. We'll make sure to play that a lot of times when we get to the Netherlands.
I hope you guys can someday make it here. I hope so. But fingers crossed. But are there other countries that if you had the chance you could play? If are there countries that you think that is something place I would love to play?
I have to say, it sounds like I'm tempted to say like most of them, because it's so fun. I've been on tour like in Europe a couple of times, and it's always so fun. Like you play in Poland one day and you wake up in Germany the next day and you're playing a show and you meet new people and we're all united like in this, we love this music kind of feeling. But if I have to like answer actually one country, it would be like Japan or something, because it's just so it's a bit different and weird, and you're kind of lost in translation there. And to break through in Japan is apparently really difficult. So that would be like a surreal experience, I guess.
I can imagine that. Yeah, it's I have all these wild ideas about Japan, and I have no idea if it's just because what I pick up on social media or if it's actually true. But it would be a great country. I'm kind of curious to it as well. I don't think I'll ever dare to go. They eat a lot of fish, and I don't like fish. So
I've been actually, and it's a fantastic country to be a tourist.
Okay, you've been there. Okay, nice.
Yeah. It's so interesting, and it's one of the very few places that I feel like you can travel there and you can actually feel a bit lost in translation, even though you speak English. And the culture is, at least when it comes to Norwegian culture, it's as far like from that you can get. And that's now I love Japan. It was a fantastic country to visit, and if I could be given the opportunity to play a gig there one day, that would be really fun.
We talked about the whole recording process. We talked about playing live. So, you also played live with other bands. So, what would you like to do best? Record in the studio or play live on stage?
Oh.
Or I should of course add the third option and just jam.
I love writing music. I think that's to me, that's some sort of cleansing ritual, I guess. How I deal with parts of my life is writing music. So if I absolutely had to choose, I would keep the writing part. And I would do that even if like Sykofant, we decided to put down our weapons tomorrow, I would still be writing what feels right to me. So that's like my main goal. But of course, I enjoy every aspect of it, like recording it. That's why I got into like the whole producing and mixing thing as well. Playing live is of course fantastic, especially when you can go to like new places, meet people from different cultures, and I love every aspect of it.
Yeah. Okay. I understand the whole. I mean, when you write songs, it's a really nice creative output. So I can understand that is something. Yeah, that would work for you.
Yeah.
The Pink Floyd is mentioned a couple of times. The 70s has been mentioned a couple of times. But besides Pink Floyd, what bands, what musicians inspire you?
Oh, that's a huge list, and it depends on who you're asking in Sykofant. So, but I listen to, well, I love pretty much everything. Perhaps apart from like modern country kind of music, like that's where I draw the line with like pop country kind of music. But apart from that, I listen to everything from ABBA to like jazz to classical music to, well, I'm open to mostly everything. But of course, if you limit it to progressive rock, I love everything from, you know, the classics from Rush to more modern prog like Opeth, Steven Wilson. I can enjoy some aspects of Dream Theater as well, even though I find it a bit too noodly at times and nerdy. But I'm pretty much open to anything.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what's the last album you listened to?
I think I've been listening to the overview a lot the recent weeks because I'm seeing Steven Wilson on Friday. He's playing in Oslo. So I've been kind of preparing for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apart from that, I've been listening to a lot of the new demos for our new EP. Because that takes a lot of time, a lot of listening time. Like every morning when I'm walking to work, it's like I have a 25-minute walk, so it's the perfect distance to listen to the EP. I'm like taking notes on my phone while I'm walking, and yeah, it's a lot of work.
And what are the things that you were listening to or paying notes for, making notes for?
Every part of it, I guess, because when I'm finished writing like this, like the framework for the whole EP, I go into producer mode and I start listening to, okay, would be cool if this guitar here had some more reverb, or if you had some like Leslie kind of rotary sound on this guitar. And why is the bass doing this there? We have to fix that. And the lyrics here doesn't quite work. It's kind of too much, and you know, stuff like that. So it's a bird's eye perspective, I guess, on the music. I at least try to have a bird's eye perspective. I'm biased when I've been writing a lot of it, but yeah.
Okay. Do you have a release date already, or you're still gonna wait a little bit?
No release date. Like I said, sometime this autumn, I would guess. Yeah, but don't. Now let's just say before 2025 is finished. That's a safer option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna release the EP first, and you're gonna take some time in between before you release it as a whole?
That's the thing, because that's why I was kind of hesitating for a moment, because we would probably be ready to release the EP this summer, but it takes a while with, like, if you're going to have the physical albums available for the release, we have to push the release a bit, because it takes some time to print it, get the artwork done. Everything needs proofreading, and then you have to do a vinyl master as well, and there's a lot of stuff going into that. So if we decide to put out the vinyl at the same time that we release the next EP, then it will be probably late autumn, around there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, absolutely something to look forward to, based on what is available now, the debut album, but especially the Red Sun EP. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I'm really loving the Red Sun EP. All of the songs. I know the one song stands out, but I love all of them. And I will say that in Embers, I also hear that Pink Floyd a little bit, but it was less than in the title track. So
can't escape it, man. We can't escape it.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, that's
no. I'm glad you guys decided to just wear it proud and just incorporate it into your sound, because I think it absolutely works. So. Good luck with everything. Thank you for your time. It was lovely to chat with you.
You as well, man.
And I look forward to the music.
Me too. I'm looking forward to having it done. Yeah. It's been lovely being on your show, man.